Hi gang, thank you for joining me. Here's an update what's going on with that undersea volcanic eruption that occurred there in Tonga. Evidently there is another eruption that has happened since then. This eruption is evidently much stronger. Sending prayers to everybody there. The first eruption of the island happened just before sunset. Here's an example. You can see the shadow of the earth as it rotates, and it was getting close to nighttime. There evidently was 2 blasts that sent out shock waves all the way to Tonga. The sound of the blast was heard almost as far as New Zealand. I found a map showing this undersea volcano. Here's Tonga. These islands are relatively flat, so the threat of tsunamis is very bad. Their communication has been basically cut off. 2 undersea cables have been destroyed. They're saying at least 3 weeks before those cables can be repaired. Here's some other islands close to the eruption. I also found on Twitter some pictures of before and after of the tsunami. Yeah, you can look at the beaches and see how much has eroded away, and they actually have marked out different roads and buildings that were affected. Another image of one of the islands. This is after, and this is before. Yeah, there's a lot of ash. Another image. And another one. Yeah, you can see the roads are gone. Now this would be on the western side of well, no, this is Fifi Holato, and this is the runway. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be bringing anything in there. They're probably going to have to make airdrops to bring in the water and food to the island. Yeah, Josephine, thank you. I'm glad you posted these. This one is Pangai Town, Pangai District. Now this image here actually makes it look like where the whole island is now gone. Here we got before the and after the collapse of the caldera. We got one little area that still remains there, it looks like maybe. One British woman is presumed dead after being swept away on the island of Tonga from a tsunami that came late. They thought it was all clear, and it wasn't. Her and her husband were down at the beach when a wave came in and swept her and her dogs away. The husband survived by clinging to a tree, and so far only 1 of the 4 dogs have been found. Evidently 2 all the way over in Chile. Several people died from tsunamis. Both New Zealand and Australia sent military surveillance flights over the islands after losing communication. The airport there in Tonga evidently was inundated with the tsunami. There evidently is lots of ash. All water on the island has been contaminated by the ash. It's highly toxic. So there is a great need to get water to the people of the island. Here's an image of the Poseidon PS Air Force aircraft sent off from Australia to check out, fly over what was going on there. The Daily Mail has an image of that missing woman. Yeah, the outcome is probably not going to be good. Here's an image from New Zealand from the small tsunami. Yeah, they had damage there in their ports. Evidently, the tsunami was only about 2.5 feet, but still enough. to cause the loss of life and property damage, etc. Another report says that the Tonga eruption could have a cooling effect on the southern hemisphere. And this eruption is probably going to continue for many weeks. They just don't know. Look at how many months the volcanic eruption continued there on La Palma in the Canary Islands. They're also saying there is significant damage to Tonga's west coast. This is an area where there are many resorts and the waterfront of the capital. The Australian Meteorological Solution claimed that a significant eruption happened on the island, the Undersea Volcano Island, again today on Monday. But yet no tidal wave caution was released. Saturday's eruption was possibly the biggest tape-recorded eruption in over 3 decades. Now, according to this article, it says in Japan, they saw a tsunami as high as 9 feet. Here in the United States, along the western coastline, some of the waves were between 3 and 4 feet. This is the ash on the windshield of a car there in Tonga shortly after the eruption. Now, it was just before sunset that it erupted. You notice the tiny pebbles that are on the windshield. The booming sounds were felt and heard in Fiji. Sonic booms were heard across New Zealand, according to BBC. Here's another image. It says Tonga volcanic eruption and tsunami. Significant damage reported along Tonga's west coast. Now, because the island is so flat, when the tsunami came in, even though it was relatively small, it was strong enough to wash that one woman from Britain away. It was strong enough to cause the collapse of some of the walls of the buildings. And you can see there's multiple waves that were coming in. Multiple waves. So I wonder about this latest eruption that happened today. Haven't been able to find much out about it. Another image of the wave and the people trying to move their vehicles and get out of the area. Yeah, there was 2 huge shock waves, and I'm not going to be surprised if the shock wave didn't blow out windows when it reached Tonga. Here's the image of the Earth as the eruption occurred, and it's right over here. Now, can you imagine how big and the destruction if Yellowstone went off? Yeah, and like I said, it was shortly before sunset when it erupted. There was no warning whatsoever. There was earthquakes reported before that, small ones that some of the people had felt weeks before the eruption, but there was basically no warning. This would be classified as a small eruption, and small eruptions can happen and do happen. This is a good example that they happen without any warning at all. Here's another image, and it's actually got drawn out the different little islands, and you can watch and actually see the shock wave, which is out here at the end of the video. In this video here, actually, you can see the rings of the shock wave probably a lot better. So I suppose if you're wondering whenever Yellowstone decides to go off if you're going to hear it, yeah, you probably will. So that's all I have for you right now. Any thoughts or comments or questions, please put it down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please share. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless y'all.